My friends, welcome to this episode of the Outdoor Gear Review. I hope you all are doing well. Behind me here, I have 3 tents. We have a 3-season tent. We have a budget 4-season tent. And we have a high-end 4-season tent. In this episode, I'm going to answer a question that I receive every single year around this time. Do you really need a 4th season tent to camp in the winter? Throughout this video, I will be comparing every single one of these tents so you all can see the differences between them all. Also, I'm going to explain when you can use these tents and when you shouldn't. And that's because with each one of these shelters, they're only good for a specific period of time. There is no tent that's out on the market today that is good for all seasons, for all temperature ranges, and all environments. As the saying goes, the right tool for the job, the same applies for your tents. It should be mentioned, everybody, with the 3-season tent and the budget 4-season tent, I do not have flies on these shelters because I want you to see what the inners look like. With the high-end tent over here, the fly is on, but the inside looks just like this one. It is a different color, but it features a fabric inner. First things first, when considering whether or not a 4th season tent is necessary for wintertime camping, it's important to assess the specific conditions that you're going to be camping in. This is because ultimately it's those conditions which will dictate what type of tent that you can take out. When deciding whether to use a 4th season tent or a 3-season tent in the wintertime, you need to consider the following factors: location and conditions. If you're camping in an area that's prone to heavy snowfall, high winds, and extreme cold, a 4-season tent is highly recommended. And that's because of the added protection, the added strength of the shelter, and the stability that it's going to offer you. Temperature and precipitation. In colder climates, a 4-season tent can provide better insulation and protection from the outside elements. However, in milder conditions, a 3-season tent could be used as long as you have a sufficient sleeping bag, sleeping pad, and clothing. Additional aspects that you need to consider are personal comfort and safety. You have to remember, folks, that your comfort and safety are paramount. If you anticipate encountering severe weather, even if it's a slight possibility, you need a 4th season tent that can withstand the worst of the worst of the conditions that are forecasted. If there's even a remote possibility of severe weather in the wintertime, that's when you need a 4th season tent. It's going to offer you a peace of mind, a safer camping experience, and also a more comfortable camping experience. Once you have a good idea of the conditions that you're going to be camping in, then you can select the right tent for you. With that being said, let's take a look at each one of these tents and let's talk about what they're good for, and at the same time, what they're not good for. This is your traditional 3-season tent, and the standout feature is mesh. That is going to be the biggest separator between a 3-season tent and a 4th season tent. A 3-season tent is all about airflow. That way, when you're inside of the tent, you have some air coming into the tent to cool you down. And that's because in most cases, you're using this tent in late spring, summertime, and early fall. Namely, you're going to be using this tent in warmer conditions, in conditions that will involve some minor wind, rainfall, and little to no snow. 3-season shelters are designed to keep the weight down so that you can easily carry these on your summertime backpacking adventures. With 3-season tents, manufacturers try to keep the weight down while offering you a good amount of protection, namely protection against bugs, rain, and mild wind. Before we move over to the 4th season tents, I want to reiterate something that I said. 3-season tents are designed for airflow. That way, when you're inside of the tent, it's warm outside, it's warm night, you have airflow coming into the tent. At the same time, the tent is able to release body heat. 3-season tents are all about keeping you comfortable in the warmer months. What we have here is a 4th season tent, a budget 4th season tent. The purpose of this tent is to do something completely different than your average 3-season tent. You can see here that with the 4th season tent, it is covered in fabric. Again, this is the inner. The fly has not been attached. With the 3-season tent, you have a body that's made of mesh. With the 4th season tent, you have a body that's made of fabric. This fabric does numerous things. It does things that you do not want in a 3-season tent. For one, it holds in heat. 2, it blocks airflow from coming inside of the tent. In the wintertime, you want a tent that features a ton of fabric just like this. In the summertime, you do not want those features. Why would you want a tent that holds in heat? Why would you want a tent that blocks air from coming in? You wouldn't want those things. You would be absolutely miserable. That's why 4-season tents are not generally used in 3-season situations. A budget 4-season tent is going to be stronger than a 3-season tent, but it's not going to be as strong as a high-end 4th-season tent. Think of a budget 4th-season tent as a mild upgrade from a 3-season. Gone is the mesh, and what you have is a fabric inner. With most budget 4th-season tents, the poles are the same size, the same strength, and they are only slightly stronger than your average 3-season tent. Budget 4th season tents are good for moderate snow loading, moderate winds, and they are good for cold conditions. That takes us over to the high-end 4th season tent. These tents are designed for the worst of the worst. Heavy snow loading, lots of ice, super strong winds, and of course, the coldest of cold conditions. Tents like this are designed for the worst of the worst, and because of that, we're talking about stronger materials. We're talking about thicker tent poles. With a high-end 4th season tent, the weight is going to go up. At the same time, the price of a tent like this is going to go up substantially. Let's talk about price here for a second so you can get a good idea of what everything costs. With the Hellerberg tent, this is roughly $825. With the budget 4th season tent, right at $200. With the 3 season tent here, this runs $90. To answer the question, do you need a 4th season tent to camp in the wintertime? The answer is no. But ultimately, it does depend on the weather conditions. If you're going out into a severe storm, you need high end. If you're going out and it's only cold at nighttime, you don't have to worry about wind or heavy snow, a 3 season tent can work. But the best option, in my opinion, is something like this. This is a budget 4th season tent. It costs less than $200. When talking about a budget-friendly 4th season tent, I need to say this, folks. Everyone, listen carefully. The majority of budget-friendly 4th season tents that are out on the market today, they are complete garbage. This tent here is a rarity. The vast majority of 4 season tents that you can find on, say, Amazon, at Walmart, they are complete junk. They are made from the cheapest of materials, and most of the time they're from companies that you've never heard of before. The simple truth is this: there are very few budget 4th season tents out on the market today. So when it comes to selecting a budget 4th season tent, you have to be very, very careful. If you aren't familiar with the brand, don't purchase it. Be prepared to do a lot of research, read reviews, watch reviews on YouTube, and trust your gut. At the same time, use common sense. A 4th season tent is not going to cost $20. A good quality 4th season tent is not going to cost $100. Again, we're talking about tents that have to be stronger so they can handle inclement weather. You're not going to find a $20 4th season tent that's any good. Again, everybody, when it comes to this tent here, this is a rarity. This is the One Tigris Stella tent, and it is fantastic. My review is coming up very soon on this. I've been testing this out throughout the fall now in heavy snow, and this tent has blown my mind. For less than $200, in my opinion, this is a no-brainer. By the way, folks, when it comes to reading reviews for tents, do not trust the reviews on Amazon. Pay no attention to those. You may know this already, but then again, you may not. Companies can hire firms to leave positive feedback for their products. At the same time, companies can hire firms to leave negative feedback for competitor products. Because of that, you cannot trust reviews on Amazon. You go to those websites, you take a look at the prices, and you do more research off of Amazon. Never, ever, ever trust an Amazon review. Even if it says verified, that means absolutely nothing. Anyways, everybody, getting back on track here. When it comes to high-end 4th season tent companies, there's only a handful out there. One really good aspect when it comes to a high-end 4th season tent company is the fact that their products have been tested out worldwide. Take Hellerberg for an example. This company is known for making the best of the best. They have an incredible reputation. They make incredibly strong tents. Yes, their prices are super high, but what you're getting is the best of the best. And if you want the best of the best, you'll pay for it. In this episode, I've gone over everything that you need to know in regards to camping in the wintertime, whether you're using a 3 season tent, a budget 4th season tent, or a high-end 4th season tent. What you will need will depend on the weather conditions that you're going to be camping in. You have to keep in mind, everybody, a 3 season tent with mesh is designed for airflow, and a 4th season tent is designed to hold in heat and to block wind. Since we're talking about camping in cold conditions, something like this makes a lot of sense for most people. That is, as long as you're camping in moderate conditions. If you're planning a trip where severe weather conditions are possible, this is what you're going to need. I want to thank you all very much for joining me for this episode. If you found this helpful, hit the like button. It helps a lot. If you want to support the channel, you could do so. Patreon, YouTube, you could join the Wolf Pack. Everybody, take care, be well, strength and honor.